I'm Alan Nia. Welcome to Behind the Hype, presented by HBO Max. And I'm sitting here with Mike Cherman.
Yes, sir.
Hell of a story, man. Everything you've been through, you epitomized, in my opinion, streetwear culture. Streetwear. The show The Hype is about, designers coming together and trying to get their shot and create a brand, and you've done that. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to have this wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it started off in high school. My nickname in high school was Mikey Merchandise. I literally used to sell t-shirts out of the back of my car. I got expelled from high school for selling t-shirts, like literally selling and distributing on campus.
That's crazy.
From there, I ended up going to Parsons School of Design. I dropped that after 1 year. I had the wild story of my first mentor was this guy named Chase Johnson, who was A$AP Rocky's manager. I worked at this store called Prohibit in the Lower East Side, basically just doing any kind of design for him. I did the A$AP Worldwide logo. I ended up doing the Kith logo. A bunch of random projects through kind of that whole moment in New York. And through that experience, I was working at a Nike store. So there's this thing called the Nike Bowery Stadium. Basically a basement where you had all these machines, kids were making everything, and they were bringing in people back when Kanye was still at Nike, like Kanye West, Amari Stoudemire, all these people come in, make a custom varsity jacket, and I'd be the kid in the basement making it. Well, at the end of that, basically that shut that whole place down. They were selling all the machines from the agency. I bought some of them at a fraction of the price, and that's literally how I started my first brand, which was ICNY. ICNY was a brand that I created after getting hit by a bunch of cars in New York. When I say a bunch, like a taxi, I got doored by another car, I've been T-boned. But those experiences what led me to start my first brand. But it was literally creating clothes to keep myself safe while I ran and rode my bike at night. So that whole process was my first foray into making a brand. I had the classic story of getting an investor, having all the opportunity in the world, but I signed a bad deal with him. Basically about 3.5 years later, I got terminated from my own company.
What was that deal like?
You get a few years in, the investor's like, yo, I've invested all this money. I really need to make sure that I have a certain amount of control and protection. And being a young kid, it was just super excited about opportunities in my life. I was like, whatever I gotta do just to get to my dream, I'll do it. I don't care if I sacrifice some percentage of equity, I still own part of this brand. But then, you just don't realize that you're signing a deal, basically signing your life away. Yeah. And so, fast forward, I got an email just literally basically, this is business, you've been terminated. And I have the tattoo on my arm, ice cold, that was when I started the thing. So, recognizing that experience and losing the whole thing, thinking it was my whole life, my future, this is what I'm gonna do forever, and then having to start from square one, realizing it doesn't really matter what other people think of me, the failure, all the kind of loss of it all, and realizing that I had to come back and I had to do it again. Going back to that, it was just out of pure creativity. Just wanting to get out there with something, and one of the shirts we made was a pretty crazy shirt that said Frank Ocean with the Nike swoosh. Back when he had that album come out with Nikes on it and all that, and then it was just one of those moments where you're kind of taking all these things from pop culture, smashing them together with good design, and you get something special. And so, went to Complex Con, those things sold out immediately, and I was driving home that night, and I'm like, I'm gonna go on GoDaddy and buy swooshfrankocean.com. And I went and bought that. I basically just put up a bunch of mock-ups of the shirts, sent it to my friends at Hypebeast, they posted it. In the morning, I woke up, my phone was just vibrating like crazy, and I thought my charger broke. And I looked at my phone, it was just Shopify, going crazy. Right. And all of a sudden, $50,000 in sales in 24 hours, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna move out of my friend's second bedroom. I'm gonna probably get myself a car, I'm gonna get my own office. And then, 6 hours later, Frank Ocean's team sent me a trademark infringement, and at that point, I was just like, the game's up. And then I had to basically I was sitting there for an hour just hitting return on every order.
Oh, really?
And just giving them all their money back. But that was the moment where I realized I had something special in my hands, and if I could understand how to do these things, take these things from pop culture, the world, the memes, all these quick turn ideas, and move at the speed of the internet, that I'd have something special. I didn't need a bunch of print shops, a bunch of money, all this other stuff to scale my business. It was all based on my creativity and the rapid iteration of just testing and kind of going, always.
How do you properly spoof an idea without having the conflict of the infringement?
I think that there's always a line. Part of it sometimes is to get the attention of the person you're offending sometimes, because sometimes you gotta knock down a door. I think I've always lived my life saying to creatives, ask for forgiveness, not ask for permission. At the end of the day, most people who I did collaborations with, let's just say Converse, I went and made the swoosh Chuck and gave it to LeBron, he wore it, and then Erykah Badu wore it, and all these other people wore it. And that happened way before Converse ever said, Mike, you wanna do a collaboration? And they knocked on the door, had us do an event in Soho in New York City after that happened, because we were creating so much buzz. We were on every mood board, every single person is asking about the shoe that we created that doesn't exist and is now on StockX for over $1,000.
I've seen other people do like...
Yeah, and they do their own versions, and again,
of it,
that's probably not even ours. Like, I just went and made our own version of it with the smiley face and all the stuff that we do and, you know, et cetera. But the beauty of all that was just purely like the rapid fun creativity, but that was knocked down the door of Converse. And
what is the wiggle room? Like,
people like to say 20%. Yeah. I think that you just gotta know in your heart that you're inspired, you're not stealing. Yeah. But as they say, the greatest artists steal. Yeah. It's just about how good you are at stealing and how do you take that thing and mold it into the thing that you want it to be. Yeah. And it's just like why, you know, when Supreme does a great job, like taking the old property and making it into theirs and all these other things, it's just reshaping it so a kid has an ability to understand and kind of profile this thing that they may not have grown up with or had around them as a kid.
Chinatown Market blew up. You've had to change the name respectfully. Yeah. Now you're the Market. And so now do you feel like you're starting back at square one again?
I think that what I recognized that this was not a rebrand. It was actually about us identifying who we always have been. You know, we are kind of a market of the people, a market of the internet. And the way that we work is that we showcase every single person in this office. We really help people to understand that they can do it too. And I think that for me, man, it's like the same idea of what we all went through as kids when you got told to shut up and go in the corner and do your job, instead of realizing that the young kids in your office are usually the most innovative and smartest kids around you, and you gotta listen to them. I wanna show them that this is how they get treated in the workplace. And while it may not be the same everywhere else, like, we can create an environment that is truly inclusive, truly lets people change what this place is. And I'm not a dictator. I'm very much, this is a democracy, and these kids help shift where the ship goes. Early on, when we first launched the brand, I went into Urban Outfitters within a month, and people told me the brand was dead. It's over. I can't tell you how many kids in Hypebeast comments
or Urban Outfitters.
Yeah, Urban Outfitters or in any kind of big store, because people then equivalent that with like, you're selling out, the brand's dead. Yeah. But in reality, that's what got me on Race Remmert or, you know, whatever celebrity or whoever, because their stylist was shopping there, their person was going there, whatever. And it also got me 1,000 more eyes. Yeah. Instead of trying to be in the coolest boutiques in the world that, frankly, those cool boutiques won't be around for 5 years because those guys aren't running a good business model. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I've always looked at this idea of inclusive, not exclusive, and involve the community. That will keep you cool. That's why we sell at luxury stores all the way down to like Foot Locker and Urban Outfitters. Yeah.
Where'd this inspiration come from? Did you have a design inspiration? Did you have someone who you aspired to be like, or someone you kind of followed?
I mean, man, like, I think we all grow up probably not feeling like we fit in like a real way. Yeah. And like, you know, I wanted to play basketball as a kid. You know, I played high school basketball in my senior year, but like I broke my hand. All the little things you have dreams of, and like, you know, I used to sit in my middle school classes drawing basketball sneakers all day, or like, you know, just loving this. But I think I realized at one moment when I got like expelled from, you know, high school, and kids started calling me Mikey Merchandise when I made this one shirt that like caused a fight on campus and all this other stuff. That was the first time that something that I created with my hands and my mind created some kind of reaction and some kind of emotion. And I think that was the first time that I recognized like this meant something. You know, it wasn't just like me doing just another job, you know. And like, once I had that experience of working on the crappy job and understanding what that's like, and knowing that I never wanted to do that, I was putting everything, blinders on, into like, this is what I want to do. I applied to one school. Applied to Parsons. I, you know, got in there, luckily. I didn't really get any scholarships. I basically got in there for 1 year just to get myself to New York, and it was just getting my foot in the ground, man. Like, I wanted this so bad. And like, at the end of the day, when every kid went home from work and was out partying, going to the bars, whatever, I was at home every day freelancing. I was literally sitting there locked in, like, I knew what I wanted in my life, and this was it. And
in a lot of ways, it's a testament to just putting in the work. You know, it's so cliche when everyone says, "Oh,
it's like the Drake line of like, I was in the gym while y'all partying," but it's like, you gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
But I will say, you're gonna compromise a lot of the little things in your life, and you're gonna have to sacrifice.
Yeah. So, how would you describe your like design aesthetic?
It all started in reverse. Like, I learned, you know, Illustrator myself through YouTube, all these things. And so it's been about kind of like makeshift. In a sense, what's funny is that makeshift has become mainstream. So this idea about like stretching typefaces and like doing wonky stuff and not getting it perfect is actually what's now popular. Whereas like when I was first in design, it was like, I don't use dafont.com because like that's the free font website. Like, you know, it's a lot of like graphic design shaming and stuff. So I think, you know, you start off trying to be perfect and then you realize it's all about like that special, wonky, weird nature is what kind of pushes the design into that really like authentic state. Because, you know, I got really popular at one point for using the print gun, which is like this live printing machine that you'd see at events and all this other stuff. I wasn't the first one to use it. People came at me like, you stole this from this guy, you stole this from this artist. I'm like, I'm just the one using it the best.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at me when I'm out here at every event, everything, installations, doing videos that are doing millions of views, like, and you just went and did a thing with it. And it's like, you know, I think that's where people get lost in this idea of like, I did it first. And it's like, did you do it best? Yeah. But that experience is what allowed me to understand like what I wanted, what I didn't want, and just have fun and creativity. And like the biggest thing is just, no one cares about if you fail. No one cares if you didn't do a good job or if you didn't get a lot of likes or if people hated on you. Everyone's got their own problems to go home with, and everyone's gonna wake up the next day worrying about their own shit as well. So I always say to every kid out there, be unafraid to fail, be very unworried about what someone else thinks about you because it's very not important.
You know, now I feel like fashion in a lot of ways has become so commercial, so about business, and there's more people who aren't passionate playing the game now.
It's transactional, you know, and it's just like anything in life. Like, do we want to live a transactional life or do you want to live a life of fulfillment? And I think for me, sure, I'm still here selling t-shirts. So like, I have to identify that that's what I'm doing. But if I can give something back to the kids who are supporting me in some way, I'm going to do that.
At the end of the day, it's clothes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say 90% of us are less skilled than the sewer making the clothes. Go throw yourself in, go be an intern, go learn from people, go put yourself in the mix, learn all those different jobs you want to do, and then go do it yourself. I'm not saying go work for someone forever, because look at me, but like, you know, for me, it was like I went and threw myself in every single situation possible to learn all the little skills I needed so that I can get there.
So if there's one thing that I learned today, and hopefully everybody's learned today, is that the market is for the people. And my man, Mike Cherman, is a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for, you know, sitting down with me today. Thank you for being a part of this. The hype is grateful to have somebody with so much knowledge. And man, you're a blessing, man. You're a blessing to the world.
No, man. Thank you big time.